Most mappers spend tens, if not hundreds of hours building and refining their maps. But what if you only had 1 hour? I've challenged myself to create a quality map in just 60 minutes. The aim is to have it reviewed by Nadeo. Let's get into it. The first thing I did when I got into the map editor was make an ambient in the media tracker. Adding this will slightly change the way that the game displays things. I always add a colour grading to my maps, as it gives it a more polished and themed feel, which will be very important as this will help the map get reviewed by Nadeo. For the map to get reviewed, I have to put it through map review. This is a server where players will play the map for 3 minutes, then rate it out of 5 stars. For a map to get reviewed, you'll need a rating at around 4.3 stars, with over 20 votes. Having a polished feel can help change some of those 4-star votes into 5 stars. Back to the map. Normally when mapping, I have a long process of coming up with an idea, placing the blocks, testing and optimizing it until I've made something good. As we only have 1 hour, I have to speed things up. Rather than spending some time thinking about a turn, I just had to start placing blocks and think about what I wanted the turn to become while doing this. After this, I had to test that the turn works and fix it if it did not. For this map, I decided to do a speed tech map, which has auto slides set up by grass blocks. If you don't know, when you drive over a slippery surface, like grass, your car will start to slide, and when you return to the tarmac surface, it will be as if you had started a drift. I chose this style as it minimises the skill gap between casual and experienced players. In Trackmania mapping, one of the key elements is to ensure players of all skill levels can enjoy the map. Normally, this requires a lot of time spent testing and refining the map, which I do not have. That's why I decided to create an auto slide speed tech map. It's one of the styles where the difference in performance, and more importantly for me speed, between new and experienced players is small. I started by mapping out a couple flat turns, then added some variety by adding some bank turns. It is important to have a variety of turns, so that players will not get bored while playing the map, but I can't get carried away and still need to keep the map flowing well. At this point, I was on track with my target time to finish the route and have enough time for the scenery, but I ran into a problem. Since the map is so high speed, a crash at the wrong moment could force players to double respawn, losing them all their speed. This would make the map frustrating to play, especially for new players, and if this happened during a map review session, it could result in them giving us a poor rating. So, I quickly added a custom checkpoint and added boosters to the side, so if they double respawned, it would take them far less time to catch up. It also made the map seem more polished, and this is important as first impressions matter a lot in map review. As I did not factor this in before I started mapping, I had to rush and abandon making one of the checkpoints double respawnable, as the player would respawn on the wrong side of the road. After I finished this, I had less time than I wanted to do the scenery. The good news for me is that I had come up with a scenery idea that could be done quickly and still look polished. Since I built this map on a void base, I could create floating islands. I took some inspiration from a track called Airflow that used floating islands, but with time running out, I didn't have time to design multiple variations, so I created one island and replicated it across the entire map. Adding the grass to the bottom is quite a hard procedure. I ended up misaligning it slightly, but with the time pressure, I did not have time to redo it, and I hope players would not notice it. After that, I started placing the macro block as quickly as possible. Now, with the scenery done and a few minutes left, it was time for the author time. I managed to get a decent run quicker than I thought I would, and decided to quickly add a GPS in the final few minutes. So here is our map. I'm quite happy with it, but let's see what Map Review thinks of it. My plan was to submit the map to Map Review for several days in a row until it got more than 25 votes. The reason for this is autoqueue. Autoqueue happens when your map has a decent score and there aren't any other maps in queue. It gets used for people to play on. The problem is that certain times of day tend to give better review scores than others, since more experienced players and mappers are online then. With autoqueue, you lose control over when your map gets reviewed, which could lead to lower ratings. By submitting it for multiple days in a row, I could reduce the impact of autoqueue and increase my chances of getting better scores. My first attempt was more of a test run. I started off great with a 4.4 star rating after just 5 votes, but it went downhill. At 21 votes, I had a 3.9 star rating, but with a great final session, I could put it to a good score, and I couldn't, ending with a 3.7 star rating. But, rather interestingly, the number of 5 stars and 4 stars were the same, and without the 1 and 2 star ratings, I could have got a decent score. So, I tried again, getting a good start with a 4.1 star rating midway through. I submitted it for another session, and it remained at 4.1 stars. All I needed was to gain 0.2 or 0.3, and we would be in the review zone, so I sent it for another review. Unfortunately, I missed out, getting a 4 star rating at 26 votes, but I was not demotivated as I saw most of the votes were either 4 or 5 stars. If it was not for the 4, 2 and 1 star votes, I could have gotten reviewed. On my third attempt, I managed to get a 4.2 star rating after 12 votes, but Nadeo had started to look at less tracks, and it seemed as if I would need a 4.5 star rating at around 20 votes. I decided that this attempt would be my last attempt, as I had much more promising maps waiting to go through Map Review. So I put my map in and managed to get a 4.4 star rating. All I needed was a few more votes and I could get in the review zone. But then, seemingly out of nowhere, autoqueue strikes back. So with that, we end up failing the challenge, though I am still happy with the results that I got. I am planning to do more challenges like this in the future, so subscribe for that. At the end of each of these videos, I'll also put the top 5 records from the map or maps in the previous challenge. Here you can see a campaign I made in 1 hour in preparation for the next video in this series. If you want to play the map I made and be in the next video, the Trackmania exchange link is in the description. Thank you for watching and bye!